we're going to graph this cosine function that has a phase shift. The phase shift is pi over 2 to the left. So what that tells me is that my new starting point is going to be to the left of 0, so it's going to be at negative pi over 2. Now to figure out what the rest of my x values would be, we're going to figure out what one period is, and then we'll divide it in 4 parts, and we'll add that to our starting point. So to find period, it's 2 pi over b. In this function, there is nothing in between cosine and x, so we can assume that our b value is 1. So period is 2 pi over 1, or just 2 pi. Now if I take that and I divide it into 4, so 2 pi divided by 4, that reduces to pi over 2. So what this tells me is that I'm going to start here at negative pi over 2, and then I'm going to add 1/2 to get to each of my next 4 points, because I need 5 tick marks or 5 points total. So if I take my negative pi over 2, and I'm going to do the work down here. If I take negative pi over 2 and I add pi over 2, this is really like saying negative 1/2 plus 1/2. That gives me 0. So that tells me my second tick mark is here right at 0. Now if I take 0 and I add 1/2, I get 1/2. So that tells me that this tick mark is going to be at positive pi over 2. Now if I take 1/2 and add 1/2, that gives me 1. So my fourth tick mark is at 1 pi. And then finally, 1 plus 1/2 is 3/2. So my final and fifth tick mark will be at 3 pi over 2. The only change to this function is that there's a phase shift. Nothing else changes. There's no reflection, no amplitude change, no midline change. So that means that I can go ahead and label my y-axis. It's going to go up to 1 and down to negative 1. And now I'm ready to do my y values, or my points, I mean. So we're starting at negative pi over 2. The cosine graph starts up at 1, so I'm going to put a point here at 1. And then I'm just going to follow my usual y values going to the right. So 1, 0, negative 1, 0, and 1. And then when I connect the dots, that's what my cosine graph looks like. Now there are 2 more sections. It looks like I only put sections for B, but there's actually a B and a C. B asks us to find the x-intercepts, and I can see 2 of them. I see one of them right here and one of them right here. X-intercepts, by the way, are sometimes also called zeros, so you can see it written either way. So I'm going to put x-intercepts / zeros. So 2 of them. One is at 0, 0, and the other one is at pi 0. And then part C says to find the range. The range is your lowest y value to your highest y value. And I can see that my highest y value is here at 1, and the lowest is here at negative 1. So the range is from negative 1 to 1. And we're going to use square brackets because there are actually points at those numbers. The only time you're going to use parentheses when you're doing a domain or a range is for tangent when you're talking about the asymptotes.